Hi, everyone. We have author Edwina Martin Arnold here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you about my writing career. Well, I'll just start from the beginning. So, went to law school, became a prosecutor, and, saw the underbelly of our society. And so I had always read romance books. And I remember people asking me, hey, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing? And I said, well, I'd be writing romance books. And of course, they all laughed. So circumstances changed. I came home to take care of my children and I was driving everybody crazy. My husband would get home and I'd talk to him like he was a kid. And so I decided I needed something more than taking care of my kids, which was, it's important, but I just needed something more. So I said, I'm going to write. So every Monday, my husband would take the kids to daycare and I would write. And it was just therapeutic, just something that I really enjoyed doing. So then after a year, so I'm talking the late 90s now. So then after a year, I had 147 pages and I let my family read it. And I'll never forget what my brother said. He said, this is really great if you're writing a legal treatise. So I had to de-lawyerize myself in my writing. I tinkered around with it for another year. And then I started to see the Black romances in the grocery stores. And I was like, hey, I have a Black romance. And then that started my journey to trying to get it published. And I eventually got it published with Genesis Press. Because back in the day, there was only Genesis Press and Arabesque with BET. So my first two books, Eve's Prescription and Jolie's Surrender, were with Genesis Press. And then I got a deal with Arabesque that led to a deal with Harlequin. So the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. I got the information that I had the deal with Harlequin and got the news that my sister's cancer was fatal in the same week. And so my sister lived in California. I'm in Seattle. So my mom would spend 3 weeks there and then I would spend a week. But my sister's 4 years older than me and we shared a room and she would read me Harlequins to fall asleep. And so that began my love for romance books. Okay. So we had a very close connection and she was very involved with my writing. And so she was just ecstatic when she found out that I was going to be a Harlequin writer. So my sister passed, then 4 months later, the Harlequin book came out and I had no involvement with anything. And the picture on the book looks like my sister. So house guest, the picture looks like my sister. So I felt like that was her smiling down saying, kudos, we did it. And then every time I sat down to write, I would cry. So eventually I just stopped writing. I got a few things out, few anthologies and a few other little things, but I eventually just stopped writing. And then and that was in 2005. Then about 3 years ago, I started dreaming of my sister and she was saying, get over it and start writing. And I started writing again. So I wrote the sequel. I never delivered the second book to Harlequin. So I wrote the sequel to the Harlequin book and I sent it to them 14 years late.
Oh, okay.
And I was really, really pleased because number one, they knew who I was. And then they said, we don't quite do this genre anymore. If you want to do this, that, and the other, we'll consider it. So when I had stopped writing, self-publishing was not an easy thing to do. So I had self-published Chocolate Friday, which is the first book in the Chocolate Romance series, because, it was so near and dear to my heart. I didn't want the editors to change it. When you're with the houses, they're going to change your book. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so when Harlequin said no, and plus my legal mind, I didn't have the contract anymore, but my legal mind was saying if they said no, then I should be okay. So I started investigating and shoot, I was able to publish the book in a weekend with Amazon. So I decided to go the self-publishing route because I could have creative control of my material. Okay. So I updated the Chocolate Romance series. And now I've written 2 more books. One is Vanilla Chocolate, and my books feature Black women falling in love, and we can fall in love with anybody. We can fall in love with each other if we want to. So Vanilla Chocolate is a Black woman falling in love with a white man. And then the one I just released, Chocolate Drop, is a Black woman falling in love with a Samoan man in the time of Corona. So it's very current.
Nice.
So that's kind of the history. I know it was kind of long. I apologize.
That's okay. And how long does it usually take you to finish writing?
Well, some books have taken me years. Other books, Chocolate Friday took a month.
A month, wow.
If I sit down and then when I was younger and I was writing around raising children, I told myself, you don't have time for writer's block. You know, you can write when it's available, and when the time is available. So I've kind of held on to that philosophy, and I forced myself through all the crazy stuff that goes on in my head. But if I don't get that first draft done, it takes forever. If I can get the first draft done, you know, I'm good.
Okay. And what comes first with you, the plot or the characters?
So I am not trained. If somebody told me I had to go to school to be a writer, I would have pulled out my hair and said no. What I did, I'm self-taught. So I dissected, you know who really taught me a lot, and she doesn't know it? Beverly Jenkins taught me a lot because I dissected her books and figured out what she was doing. Everything has a formula, right? God, I forgot your question.
What comes first, the plot or the characters?
So for me, the conflict comes first because nobody wants to read about two people getting along. So I have to think, what is the conflict? Then who are these people? And then just kind of build the story from there. So that's kind of what I do. I'm not traditional in any sense of the word. If I had to sit down and plot and write it, it wouldn't be any fun. And to me, sometimes when I start writing it, I'm not sure how it's going to end. And that's the whole, other than, you know, it's a romance book, they're going to fall in love. But the journey, how they get there.
Okay. And do you have the books with you?
You know, I have a couple of them laying around. Let's see. So here's Chocolate Friday right here. And this one is about, people kept asking me to write more love scenes. And, you know, when you're with the houses, at least back when I was published with the houses, you had 2.5 love scenes, one where they almost get there and you drive the reader nuts, and the other 2, you know, they get there. And so, and I think my readers wanted more love scenes because I build a love story. And so it's not just, I'm not Zayn. It's not 2 people hitting it. You know, there's actually a love story, and a natural progression of that love is making love. So anyway, the way I thought to make a book with a lot of love scenes without it being erotica is to have a sexual innocent. And then you get to go through all of these wonderful experiences with her. So the woman wasn't raped, but she does have an incident that kind of stunted her growth. So that's Chocolate Friday. She's a repressed professor at the University of Washington. She teaches English. She takes a trip on the wild side and goes to Chocolate Friday, which is an all-male review where the men are all chocolate. She has a connection with one of the dancers, and then he ends up in her English class. So Flavor, the thug stripper. So that's Chocolate Friday. And then Vanilla Chocolate is Flavor's sister. And she's a very sophisticated woman. And she has, she's a photographer. And she has an adventure with a white guy who is one of the models. But she doesn't remember him, but she's met him in her past. So that's Vanilla Chocolate. And Chocolate Drop, I'm waiting for the books to come in. It just came out on the 15th, I think. So I'm waiting for the books to come in. But I had to change my whole story because of Corona. The heroine is a doctor in the emergency room, and the hero is a doctor also, and he heads up pathology. So he's heading up the morgue in the time of Corona. So
well, thank you, and congratulations on your newly released book.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So tell everyone where they can purchase your books.
Amazon. Although I'm getting sales in from Barnes and Noble and a few other places, so people must be requesting it.
Okay.
But Amazon. Okay. And the key to all my social media is my name.
That was my next question. Yeah, social media handles.
My website is my name, Edwina Martin Arnold. Instagram is Edwina Martin Arnold, #1 for #1 author. Facebook is Edwina Martin Arnold author. So it's all my name.
Okay. And who's your favorite character, if you have one, out of, let's say, all of your books? You have 10, right?
Yeah, about 10. That's so hard for me to answer because they each, for different reasons, have a special place in my heart. But I guess I'll go with Olivia from Chocolate Friday because she's quirky. But I think if your club reads it, they'll really enjoy it.
I like the way it sounds already. And what do you hope readers take away from reading your books?
I want them to read it and say, and I want them to feel like they don't want it to end. You know how you're reading a really good book and you don't want it to end. And when you get to the end and you read how it culminates, that you say, oh, that was just a really good story.
Okay.
That's what I'm aiming for.
Okay. Okay. And is there, this is for me, are there any cliffhangers at the end of Chocolate Friday to where you just have to read the second one? Do you do us like that?
Well, I give you a snippet at the end of chocolate. So I would say yes.
Okay.
And then in vanilla chocolate, you get to see a little bit more what happened. They're each standalone, but I give an update of the previous characters. So
okay,
what's happening with the other characters.
And is there anything else that you would like to tell us about your books?
No, I can't think of, other than a lot of people ask me why I write, and I want people to understand I truly write for the joy of it. And then when people enjoy my books, that's just icing on the cake. So I think I would like your readers to know that.
That's good. That's good. And how do you think being a writer has helped you as a person?
Oh man, I've done so much research. So I think it's helped me educate myself. And I live in Tacoma, Washington, which is a suburb. Well, Tacoma's not a suburb of Seattle. It's about 40 miles away. But the Northwest has such a rich Black history. So I'm really contemplating doing a historical set out here. But also, when I first picked up books about the Northwest, you know, they were talking about Scandinavians and Norwegians and blah, blah, blah. So one of the things I really try to do with all of my books is to bring some of our culture to the books.
Okay.
So, but writing historical, I think I'm going to take up that challenge.
Nice. Good luck.
Thank you.
Now, the Chocolate Romance series, is that also on Kindle?
And you know what? Chocolate Friday and Vanilla Chocolate are now audiobooks.
Really? Well, thank you, Miss Edwina, for joining me.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
I did too.